Hello again guys, and here's part 17 of our R2-D2 tutorial. So this is what you should have modeled so far, and we still got a little bit of work to do down here on the feet area before we can move on to the rest of the legs. So we're basically done with the details in the foot, but there's this control pack, whatever this is, that attaches to the foot that we need to finish doing. So you can see it's got a couple of details on the front there, and we need to model these cables that are going to connect this to the foot. So let's take a look at the detail that's on there. So we need to make a little recess, and we're going to put these vertical strips in there. So it's all pretty basic modeling. So we'll select that foot area, tab to go into edit mode, and I'm going to go into vertex select. I'm going to grab hold of the knife, and I'm going to make a knife cut joining those two edges, and we'll make another knife cut also joining these two vertices as well, like that. So I'm just going to hide the foot for a moment, so just hide that, so we're just working on this area. Alright, and then we're going to make the same cuts on the rear as well. So knife, I want to cut across here and also down here. Alright, and now we're going to make some vertical cuts on here. Let's check back with our reference image. No need. We're just going to drag this back. So grab hold of this face here, and we'll grab hold of these two top faces. It's always easier to bring it out than it is to take that in. So we'll just bring those out a little bit, and we'll do the same at the rear here. We'll grab hold of these two faces and E to extrude, and we'll bring those out a little bit as well. Okay. And now we need to model these two strips that go inside of there. So it shouldn't be too difficult to do. See if we can bring a loop cut in. And we'll place one here. And we'll place another one here. One here and another one. Go around there. Just going to drag these two across so that's kind of evened up a little bit. Make sure you've got all those edges. Move that over. Go back to a reference image. So they're pretty close to the two edges there. So I'm just going to bring this one over a little bit, and this one also. Drag that closer to the edge. I'm going to deselect this edge. We'll make it a little bit wider so it kind of matches up with the other one. Okay, now we're done with that. We can get hold of these two faces. I'm just going to extrude those out a little bit. So E to extrude, we'll bring those out a small distance. Now I get loop cuts again, and we're going to place two loop cuts to make this area. So one loop cut and another. We'll go around that. Grab hold of these two faces, E to extrude, we'll pull that out a little bit, and we'll grab hold of those two faces, E to extrude, and we'll bring those out sideways. And then we'll do the same on this side. E to extrude and bring that out sideways. Okay. So I want those to be about even. Alright. So tab back into object mode. You can see we've got that basic shape there now. There's these little tabs around the top of it which we need to also create. So go back into edit mode here. loop cut again. Now I'm going to grab hold of these two edges, E to extrude. We'll bring those out a fair distance. Get hold of these two, E to extrude, and again we bring those out quite a little bit. Now I'm going to bring up all of these faces, so again E to extrude, bring that out, deselect the two center faces, E to extrude, or actually no need to extrude, you can just drag it out a little bit more. Okay. Now there's a small recess in the middle of these, and so we'll add that next. So we'll make a knife cut, control for the midpoint, let's make sure we're making this in the right place. Knife, control, control and enter. And then we can select this edge, drag it over to the right. Again, knife, control to get the midpoint, enter, and we'll drag this one over to the right side. I can come in with a couple more loop cuts. Get hold of this face, we extrude it in a small distance. Now it's just a matter of doing the same on this side. Control to get the midpoint, that makes our cut nice and straight. Edge select, drag over to either side. Grab hold of the face and extrude that in a small way. Okay, so this area is going to be blue, so we can assign these colors now. So we'll stay in face select. We'll get hold of these faces. Come over to our materials, add, and we want the blue material. Oops. Add new material. Now I'll select the blue one and assign. There, so now I have the blue part there. Now we're also going to want the metallic part to be done. Just going to remove that first material. Okay. Now just to catch the light, I'm going to add a little bit of beveling to some of these edges. So grab hold of those edges and these ones. get hold of these corners as well. And these top corners. And then I'll go Control B to bevel. We'll bevel 0.02. And I'm going to bevel 2 segments. Alright, so now those edges are going to catch a little bit of the light. And I'm also going to then bevel along these top edges here. And around there. Here. Control B. Same amount of bevel applied to those. It's looking good. Okay, and then on the back we're going to basically do a very similar thing. Or to save us a little bit of time, we could use a mirror modifier. Let's try that. So we're going to need to cut this in half by getting a loop cut. Place that in halfway point there. And we'll hit Z to go into wireframe mode, B for box select. Actually, I'm going to select faces. B for box select, and we're going to want to select everything on this side here. X should delete these faces. And we go to modifiers and add a mirror modifier. We're going to mirror along the Z. And then go into edit mode. We'll drag that out. There. Okay, so now we've mirrored it front and back. So that saved us a little bit of time modeling at the back there. Now we can apply this mirror modifier because what we're going to want to do next is not mirrored. We're going to want to put the plugs for these cables onto there. So I'm going to go to create a new cylinder. Scale this down. Rotate it on the x-axis 90 degrees. And then this is going to be positioned on here, and there's going to be 2 of them, but we'll just model 1 and we'll duplicate it across. So it's basically going to be there like that. Tab into edit mode, grab this rear face, we can remove that as it's not needed. Scale this along the y-axis so it's a little narrower. Now the shape of this is going to be kind of curved in and then flat towards the end. You'll see what I mean in a moment. So we'll tab into edit mode, we'll grab hold of this face, hit E to extrude, we'll bring this out, S to scale, we'll scale that in a little bit, E to extrude again, S to scale just ever so slightly, and then E to extrude and we'll come straight out. Okay, now we can remove that face. We'll add a modifier to this. which will be the solidify modifier. Make it a little thicker. And then I'm going to add a subdivision surface modifier, and we'll choose smooth shading. Okay. And then to make those edges tight, loop cuts, we'll slide this backwards. Another loop cut here, which will slide forwards like so. And that basically gives us our connector for the pipe. I'm going to grab hold of these two loop cuts here. I'm going to scale those in a little bit so it's slightly crimped. Okay, that looks a bit better. And scale that whole thing up, and Shift and D to duplicate. We'll drag that sideways. So there's two of them here. Let's go to a front view. We'll make sure these are kind of aligned up nicely. All right. Now we can reveal our feet again. And these objects here we're going to join to our main object. Or actually, no, we'll leave them as separate. Yeah, we'll leave them as separate. Let's make it a little easier for later on. Okay, so now we're going to also need those same connectors on the foot. So Shift and D to duplicate. They're going to be positioned in this area. Okay. Just going to move them closer together. So hopefully we can fit them both onto this foot panel. And then they need rotating backwards so they kind of align with everything. Okay, that looks good. So the next thing we need then is the pipe that connects both of these. So to make the pipe, we're going to start off by creating a Bezier curve. And creating this is relatively simple, but can be a little bit tricky because you just got to align the curve up precisely in all of your views to make sure that it is going to the correct place. So we tab there into edit mode. Now you can grab hold of individual vertices and we can begin to manipulate these and curve things around, but you've got to make sure that things are curving in the right direction and that you're moving the end point into the correct place. So it's just a matter of playing around a little bit to maneuver the end of this Bezier curve so it effectively plugs into this connector that we just created. Then you're going to want to do the same with the other end of the curve. So that one's going to plug into here. Grab hold of the end. and we begin to maneuver this into position. Like so. Okay, so this will be one of our pipes. Now by dragging this out, we can make the cable a little bit longer, and we can adjust the bend of it as well. So it goes something like this. Now once you've maneuvered your curve into position, I'm going to name this the cable path. What we're going to do next is tab out of edit mode and create a circle. Now this circle object, we're going to need to scale down so it's quite small. And then we're going to select our path. And in the path here, we can find it. Transform box relations. Let's see why is that disappeared. Here. Sorry, it's under the Bezier Curve menu there. Bevel object. That's what we're looking for, and we select the Bezier circle, which we can also name our path cable diameter. All right, so you can see that what it's done now is it's basically extruded this circle along that path. However, it's a little bit big, so we scale our circle down until we get the cable to about the thickness that we want it to be, the diameter that we want it to be. So around there, and then we can come back to our circle, back to our cable path. And now we can just do the final kind of tweaking of this to get everything looking correct and like this cable is actually coming out of these connectors. Line everything up. Drag this one up a little bit. Okay, that's all looking good. Now we'll go back to our main circle. I'm going to scale it up just a little bit. And there's our pipe now, cable connecting the box to the foot. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing. Cable path, Shift and G will duplicate this, move it across. Let's go into edit mode, and then we're just going to manipulate this one into the other hole. Maybe that cable also needs to be a slightly different length. We'll give it a different curve. that is looking pretty good. Okay, now I want to convert these into a mesh object. So we go to Object and Convert to Mesh from Curve. And same again here. Object, Convert to Mesh from Curve. And now we can select our circle diameter. We don't need that anymore. It can be deleted. Then we're going to grab all of these pieces. Oops, actually, we need to go back a moment because this one isn't quite in place. Just notice that. Okay. So object, convert to mesh from curve. Again here, Alt and C is the shortcut. Mesh from curve. We select all of these pieces. And I'm going to join them together. Okay, now in the modifiers here, we can add another modifier, which will be a mirror modifier. And our mirror object is going to be the main body. So we select the body there. Okay, now we can remove our circle. Now we're going to do the same for this, add a modifier. So it will be a mirror modifier, and the mirror object will be the body. And now we have that pack at the bottom of both feet with our cables in place. So, pretty much done with the modeling now for the feet area. We've just got a little bit of detail to do down the legs here, and then we can move on to the center leg, which you can see sticks out from underneath of R2-D2. And once we have done that, we're basically done. But a lot of this stuff on the underneath here is going to be repeat modeling, so we can actually reuse a lot of parts that we've just made already. So, and also this leg is optional. It depends on which pose you're going to put him into. So it's up to you if you want to model that center leg or not. If not, we just need to finish off the details down this side of the leg before we can get on to the actual texturing and final render.